great to be here with you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So talk to me about what exactly your company does.
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of a company called Patch.
Okay.
At Patch, our core objective is to scale carbon dioxide removal with software.
Okay.
Carbon dioxide removal is a core ingredient to fighting climate change. So when you think about mitigating the climate crisis, there's two core levers we have to pull. The first is decarbonizing. That looks like rolling out renewable electricity, electrifying vehicles. But then the second piece is removing carbon from the atmosphere. We've been polluting for the last 150 years, and we actually have to undo some of that pollution in addition to preventing further pollution in order to hit our climate goals.
Now, how did you get the idea for this? Walk me through your founding story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I initially studied chemical engineering at McGill with the intention of working in low carbon energy. That's how I thought I was going to fight the climate crisis. It didn't work out. I only got jobs in oil and gas coming out of school. And so instead of doing that, I worked at a wide variety of tech startups for around 8 or 9 years. And then back in April of 2020, me and my co-founder, Aaron Grunfeld, really wanted to start something of our own. And so what we did was we looked at what are the 8 or 9 things that need to be true in order for us to hit our climate goals, going back to those solutions I mentioned earlier. So renewable energy, agriculture, and carbon dioxide removal was one of those elements where it felt like there was no infrastructure to get it off the ground. And we had very little existing capacity back in 2020. We weren't even doing 1/1000th of the amount of carbon dioxide removal we need to be doing. And so we decided to focus on that area and understand how we could apply the software skills we had learned in past companies we've worked at before and apply it to carbon dioxide removal.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now talk to me about your fundraising journey. How's that been for you?
Yeah, thankfully it's gotten easier and easier. You know, the first round, we raised around $4.5 million from Andreessen, but that took a really long time. That was during COVID as well, from I guess that was June or July of 2020. So big kind of drawn out experience.
Yeah.
But we've been fortunate enough to raise from a really wide variety of folks, including Andreessen, Co2, and Energize, and have raised around $80 million to date. So really thankful to be really well capitalized, particularly in this more economic uncertain time.
Yeah.
So we're just heads down, focused on building and doing what's best for carbon markets as a whole.
Now, I want to get some sort of a sense of scale of
Yeah.
your company. Can you talk to me a bit about how many users you have or anything like that that'll show me your size?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the buyer side of the equation, we work with around 400 corporates, companies as large as EQT or Bain & Company to as small as startups you haven't heard of before. And then on the supply side, we work with around 100 or so carbon credit developers at various stages of scale as well. So we have around 400 million tons under management in the Patch platform holistically.
Unfortunately, I feel like climate change is just so politicized right now.
Yeah.
What's your experience been like running a startup in kind of a politically fractured industry?
Yeah, you know, the policy world is actually very new to me. I'm coming from kind of engineering and then tech. And so I'm spending way more time in DC than I initially thought I would have been. You know, I think the biggest thing to understand is you have to think of these problems in terms of systems. And everyone has a slightly different priority set. And you know, you can bucket it as right or the left in the US, but the reality of the situation is all of these kind of global systems, whether it's kind of climate change, energy, food systems, economic development, or job creation, are all interlinked. And so in a lot of cases, it's all about just reframing a particular problem so that people are excited. So a great example is the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, is the biggest climate change bill ever passed in North American history. And what got it over the ledge was, in many cases, the job creation element, right? How do we create great American paying jobs that catalyze kind of climate solutions so kind of the right, in a lot of cases, get what they need, where they really want to have economic development and maybe in some cases kind of more economic growth.
Right.
But on the left's case, they actually get the climate change solutions they want.
So all about the compromise.
It's all about finding that win-win in a lot of cases.
Right.
What's the kind of 1 + 1 = 3?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And finally, what would you like your legacy to be?
Yeah, so I mean, when I think about my legacy or Patch generally, I think the biggest thing is just putting a dent in climate change.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be removing around 10 to 15 gigatons per year by 2050.
Yeah.
And if we can be doing, 5, 10, 15% and actually attribute that to what Patch is doing, I think that's really exciting.